Who were you really before you were born? Have you ever met someone for the first time, yet felt as if you had known them forever? Or visited a place you had never been, only to feel an unexplainable sense of déjà vu? What if these moments weren't just coincidences, but fragments of a past life breaking through? For centuries, different cultures and religions have debated the origins of our consciousness. Some believe we are born from nothing and fade into oblivion, while others, like the Buddha, taught that life is a continuum, flowing from one existence to the next. But is there any real proof? Surprisingly, modern science is beginning to uncover compelling cases of reincarnation, children who recall lives they never lived, memories that defy logic, and even scientific studies that hint at something far beyond the physical brain. In today's video on Zen Buddhism wisdom, we will journey into the heart of this ancient mystery. We'll explore the Buddha's teachings on rebirth, astonishing real-life cases, and the hidden mechanics of karma that shape who we become. Stay with us until the end. You may discover that your own past is far more fascinating than you ever imagined. Across the vast tapestry of human civilization, the question of our origins has echoed through time, taking shape in countless mythologies, philosophies, and scientific inquiries. The ancient Greeks pondered the nature of the soul, with Plato suggesting that knowledge was merely recollection from a past existence. In the annals of Egyptian lore, the Ba and Ka, two aspects of the human essence, were believed to transcend death, seeking reunification in the afterlife. The Celts, too, spoke of a world beyond, where warriors would return, their fates interwoven in an unbroken cycle of existence, yet Buddhism departs from these traditions in a profound way. It does not speak of an immutable soul, a spark of divinity encased in mortal flesh, but rather of a continuum of being, an unceasing river of consciousness shaped by actions, desires, and karmic imprints. The Buddha, upon attaining enlightenment, did not merely speculate, he saw his past lives unfold before him like pages in a cosmic ledger. He recalled not just singular identities, but entire epochs of existence, stretching across eons. He spoke of himself as a monk, a king, an outcast, an animal, even a god residing in celestial realms, only to be cast back into the lower worlds by the weight of unresolved karma. And he saw this not just for himself, but for all beings, each consciousness bound to an intricate web of cause and effect, shaped by the ripples of past actions. But what, then, binds us to this cycle? Why do we wander endlessly, grasping at life after life, unable to break free? The answer lies in two primal forces, craving and ignorance. Craving, tanha, is the restless thirst that drives us forward, the insatiable hunger for pleasure, identity, existence. It is the force that compels the moth to the flame, the gambler to the table, the lover to cling to what is destined to fade. It is the whispered illusion that the next life, the next desire fulfilled, will finally bring satisfaction, and ignorance, avijja, is the fog that blinds us, the great delusion that convinces us this world is solid, that our identities are permanent, that suffering is an aberration rather than an inescapable law. It is the failure to see things as they truly are, impermanent, interdependent, ever-changing, so we return over and over. Yet, if we have tread this path before, why do we not remember? Why are the doors to our past lives sealed so tightly? The Buddha explained that memory itself is impermanent, shaped by the conditions of each new birth. Just as a candle's flame can be passed from one wick to another, yet is never quite the same, so too does consciousness flow forward, but without retaining a fixed identity. The ripples of our past exist within us, not as clear recollections, but as tendencies, fears, affinities. Why do some children display prodigious talents they have never learned? Why do certain places feel inexplicably familiar? Why do we carry irrational fears, unexplained longings, a deep sense of nostalgia for something we cannot name? Perhaps, just perhaps, these are the echoes of lives we have long since forgotten. Throughout history, the idea of past lives has lingered at the edges of human experience, whispered through myths, scriptures, and inexplicable phenomena. While modern skepticism frames reincarnation as superstition, the Buddha did not claim it as mere belief. he spoke from direct experience. On the night of his enlightenment, as he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, he penetrated the veil of ignorance and saw his previous existences in vivid detail. He did not recall them as fleeting impressions, but as fully formed realities, his names, his families, the struggles he endured, the deaths he met. He saw himself as a warrior, a merchant, a hermit, even an animal struggling for survival. But more than this. He realized that every being, caught in the relentless wheel of samsara, had walked similar paths, again and again, unknowingly tracing the same cycle of birth, suffering, and death. His revelation was profound: the self is an illusion, but the consequences of our actions persist. The choices made in one life ripple into the next, shaping destinies in ways unseen. Yet for those still bound by ignorance, past lives remain veiled, glimpsed only in fragments, in dreams, in unshakable feelings of déjà vu. In recent decades, science has begun to tread into territory once thought exclusive to mystics. The University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies has meticulously documented thousands of cases of children recalling past lives with eerie accuracy. One of the most famous cases is that of James Leininger, a boy in Louisiana who, from the age of 2, experienced violent nightmares of being trapped in a burning plane. He described in startling detail the cockpit of a World War II fighter jet, the feeling of being shot down, and even the name of his previous self, James Houston, Jr., a U.S. Navy pilot killed in combat in 1945. His parents, initially skeptical, researched his claims and discovered that every detail matched historical records. Similarly, in Sri Lanka, a boy named Purnima Ekanayak was born with an unusual birthmark across her chest. From the time she could speak, she described being a man who died in an industrial accident, crushed beneath a factory machine. Investigators traced her statements and found that, indeed, such a man had died years before, suffering injuries in the exact places where Purnima bore her birthmarks. Are these merely products of the subconscious mind? Random neurological anomalies? Or do they suggest a deeper truth, that consciousness is not confined to a single lifetime, but rather a vast, unfolding continuum? Even Carl Jung, one of the founding figures of modern psychology, acknowledged that some of his patients seemed to experience memories that could not be traced to their current lives. He himself had dreams and visions that felt more like recollections than fabrications, leading him to speculate that the mind might be far older than we assume. Perhaps the past is not truly gone, but merely hidden, waiting for the right moment, the right circumstances, or the right soul to remember. The process of rebirth is neither random nor predetermined by an external force. It is driven by karma, the law of cause and effect that transcends lifetimes. The Buddha described this as a stream of consciousness, ever flowing, shaped by past actions, thoughts, and intentions. Unlike the notion of an eternal soul migrating unchanged, Buddhism teaches that what continues is a momentum, a chain of causes and conditions, constantly evolving. Just as a river appears continuous while its waters are never the same, so too does consciousness move between existences, moment by moment, life by life. Tibetan Buddhism delves deeper into the unseen realms of transition, particularly the bardo, the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The bardo is not a void, nor is it a final judgment, it is a mirror reflecting the mind's deepest imprints. In this state, one encounters luminous, terrifying, or bewildering visions, shaped by one's accumulated karma. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes how the untrained mind may mistake these visions for external realities, leading to fear and confusion, while an enlightened being recognizes them as projections of their own consciousness. Those who die with peace and clarity may perceive the radiant light of ultimate reality, while those bound by attachment and ignorance may be drawn toward another birth in accordance with their karmic tendencies. There are historical accounts of individuals who, at the moment of death, displayed extraordinary signs suggesting awareness of the transition. The 16th Karmapa, one of the highest masters of Tibetan Buddhism, was reported to have passed away with a peaceful smile, his body showing no signs of decay for days. In contrast, stories of warriors and rulers throughout history, such as Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who desperately sought immortality, speak of final moments filled with fear and struggle, as though clinging to a crumbling reality. These moments reveal that death is not merely the end but a doorway, and the state of one's mind at the threshold determines the next passage, but what determines where we go next? It is not judgment from a divine being. Nor is it luck or chance. The trajectory of rebirth is governed by the karmic forces we have set in motion. A life spent cultivating wisdom and compassion leads one toward higher states of existence, while a life of greed, hatred, and delusion binds one to suffering. Some Buddhist masters liken this to planting seeds in a vast field. Each action, word, and thought sows the conditions for future experiences. The moment of death is when the ripest seed takes root, pulling consciousness toward a new form, a new world, a new beginning. Karma is not a force of blind retribution, nor is it an inescapable destiny carved in stone. It is a fluid, dynamic principle, one that we shape with every thought, word, and action. The Buddha likened it to a field. Our deeds are the seeds, and the conditions of our future existence are the harvest. Just as a farmer reaps what he sows, so too do we inherit the consequences of our past choices. But this is not a fatalistic doctrine, it is an empowering one. For if karma is created, it can also be changed. Take the story of Angulimala, a name that once struck fear into the hearts of many. A ruthless killer, he was said to have murdered 999 people, believing that collecting their fingers as trophies would grant him supernatural power. Yet, when he crossed paths with the Buddha, something extraordinary happened. The Buddha did not flee, nor did he raise a weapon. Instead, he simply walked, calmly, steadily, beyond the reach of Angulimala's blade. No matter how fast the killer ran, he could not catch up. Desperate, he screamed, "Stop, monk!" The Buddha, turning to face him, said, "I have already stopped. It is you who must stop." In those words, Angulimala's world unraveled. He had been running all his life, not just through forests, but through cycles of violence, hatred, and suffering. And for the first time, he understood, the true enemy was not outside him, but within. He fell to his knees and renounced his past, becoming a disciple of the very man he once sought to kill. Though he faced the weight of his past actions, villagers still threw stones at him, refusing to forgive his past crimes. He accepted it with humility, knowing that he had planted new seeds through his repentance and transformation. This story reveals a profound truth: while we cannot erase the past, we can redirect the course of the future. Karma does not bind us in chains, it offers us a mirror. It shows us the patterns we have created, but it also hands us the tools to change them. Even in modern times, history offers echoes of this lesson. Take the example of Milarepa, Tibet's most revered yogi. Before becoming enlightened, he had practiced dark sorcery, killing dozens in an act of revenge. Yet, through years of arduous spiritual training, he purified his mind and ultimately became one of the greatest Buddhist sages. His story, like that of Angulimala, stands as proof that no one is beyond redemption. This is the true power of karma, not as a punishment, but as an invitation. It asks us, what seeds are you planting today? What kind of life are you cultivating for your next existence? For the choices we make now do not simply shape the coming years, they echo through lifetimes. The idea of rebirth without a fixed soul may seem like a paradox, yet it lies at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. If there is no permanent self, no unchanging core within us, then what carries on from one life to another? The Buddha's answer was profound: what continues is not an eternal essence, but a process, a stream of consciousness shaped by causes and conditions, forever in motion. Consider a candle flame passing from one wick to another. The second flame is not identical to the first, yet its existence depends entirely on it. Likewise, our consciousness is not a single, fixed entity but a continuous unfolding, influenced by past experiences, karma, and intentions. This is why the Buddha spoke of anatta, or not self, not to deny existence, but to free us from the illusion of a rigid, unchanging identity. Ancient Buddhist texts recount the story of Nagasena and King Milinda, in which the Greek Bactrian ruler, puzzled by this very question, asked the monk Nagasena, "If there is no self, then who is reborn?" In response, Nagasena asked the king how he had arrived at the monastery. "By chariot," the king replied. "Then, O king," Nagasena continued, "is the axle the chariot? Are the wheels the chariot? Is the frame the chariot?" "No," the king admitted. "Then where is the chariot?" The king fell silent, realizing the chariot was merely a collection of parts, given a name for convenience. Likewise, what we call the self is just a combination of body, thoughts, emotions, and memories, none of which exist independently. And yet, just as the chariot functions despite lacking a singular essence, so too does the stream of consciousness continue without requiring a fixed soul. This understanding is profoundly liberating. It means we are not shackled by an immutable fate, nor are we bound to the sufferings of past mistakes. Just as a river reshapes its course over time, so too can we transform our minds, our actions, and our future. Modern neuroscience offers an eerie echo of this truth. Research has shown that our sense of self is not as stable as we believe. The brain constantly rewires itself, forming and dissolving connections, adapting to new experiences. The person you were 5 years ago is, in many ways, biologically and psychologically different from who you are today. This raises a crucial question: if there is no fixed self, then what truly matters in this cycle of existence? The Buddha's answer was simple: our actions, our intentions, and the wisdom we cultivate. What we do in this moment does not just shape the next, it reverberates across lifetimes. Understanding this is not just an intellectual exercise, it is the key to liberation. Imagine waking up every day knowing that your actions today are shaping not just this life, but the countless lives to come. Every choice, every thought, every intention is leaving an imprint, one that will determine where your consciousness flows next. You are not just living this moment, you are crafting your future existence. Now is the time to take control of your destiny. Begin by living with awareness, cultivating kindness, and breaking free from the cycles of suffering. If past actions brought you here, present actions can take you anywhere. So, what will you choose? What karma will you set in motion today? We are building a global community of seekers, those who seek wisdom, transformation, and enlightenment. Join us by subscribing, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and walking this path together. Let's spread the light of Zen Buddhist wisdom and reshape our lives with clarity and purpose. Your journey doesn't end here, it's only beginning.